All right, so let's go to the first segment here, which is going to be about the overview. So we're going to start out talking about Socrative, and then later on we'll move into Kahoot. So version 2.0 came out within the past year or so. I have linked there for you a YouTube channel, a nice place to look at the kind of the nitty-gritty specifics of Socrative in terms of the overview of how the interface works and how you log in, reports, which would be ways to look up after someone has taken one of these events, how to look up the information, the results after the fact, and then teacher dashboard, space race. A lot of these I'll go over today, piece by piece, but just so that you know, there's a nice YouTube channel where you can go and learn about all the things broken down for you right there. The compatible devices now. Now, does anybody in the room have clickers? They're traditional clickers where they do really one thing only. Okay, some people shaking their heads. Yes, I'm finding it's less and less now that smartphones and mobile technology is so prevalent. But many years ago, people were buying into these systems, these clicker-based systems, which are usually anywhere from $800 to $2,000 per classroom, and they only did one thing only. Now, instead of using a proprietary device, you can use any device that you have, be it a smartphone, no matter what brand, a tablet, a Chromebook, laptop or desktop, even an e-reader, if it has a browser on it. Any of these devices can be used if they simply just have a browser, because these tools we're looking at today are web-based. So the preferred browser across all these devices, if you have it, would be Chrome, except if you're on an Apple device, we tend to find that Safari works better. It has something to do with how the keyboard works when you're typing in answers. So if you're on an Apple device, stick with Safari, but all other devices, if you can install the Chrome browser, that would be the preferred browser of choice. So to start us off, I think the best way to do it is to actually have you guys act as students out there in the audience, and we're going to take a Socrative quiz I've put together for us to get some background information from the people in the audience. So if you can see here, I've put in one of these SOC numbers. Think of that as a serial number. What that means is, if any of you wanted what you're about to take, if you wanted a copy of it, in your own Socrative account, you can plug in that number, and then you will instantly have a copy of my quiz. And it won't affect my quiz. If you start adding or changing questions, it doesn't mess around with mine. But it's a way for you to easily share quizzes with people. So if across your entire grade level or your department, you all want to use Socrative, you can not recreate the wheel. One of you can make the product, and then the others can copy onto it just by sharing out those Socrative numbers. So I'm going to jump over to Socrative right now, and I'll instruct you on where to go in a minute. You can just sit back and watch where I'm going. I started at Socrative.com, and I logged in with the I'm a Teacher button. And now that I'm logged in, I'm going to start a quiz. I got to look for the one that I want to use, and I believe it is, I presented this session at ISTE, so it's going to, I believe it's, yeah, it's going to have some ISTE-related questions. Even though we're in Rochester, let's pretend that we are in, where was I? Where was it again? Is it Atlanta? I can't even, no, it was Philadelphia this year. 2 years ago it was Atlanta. So it was in Philadelphia. So you're going to see some Pennsylvania-related questions in here. So before as the teacher here, before I start this, I have to decide, how do I want to administer this? Do I want it to be where students take it at their own pace and they get immediate feedback? Do I want to do it where students at their own pace, but they get to navigate like forwards and backwards? Gives you a little bit more flexibility as a student while you're taking it. Or do I want to do it as teacher-paced, meaning that I control the flow? So I usually give myself a little reminder here. I want to do this one teacher-paced. That's right. So I'm going to lead you through it step by step, and that will give me a chance to maybe have a conversation around each question if we needed to elaborate, a misconception or something like that. So it gives you a nice little description down here. If you're not sure of what it's going to do, it tells you what it's going to do. Additional settings. Disable student names. I'm going to say no, because I want to see the names of the people in the audience, so I'll leave it that way. Randomized order, I'll leave it as no. It's going to go in the order that I built this test in. And disable student feedback, I'm going to say no, so that you can, that's right, if I have it that way, you're going to see the correct or incorrect results immediately upon submitting your answer. So I'll start that. And what I need all of you to do now is go to my room, which is going to be Socrative.com. So head over to, and I got to do this in a different browser here, just like I'm doing now. I'm going to have you guys go to Socrative.com, and you'll click the button at the top that says Student Login. And it's going to ask you for the teacher's room code. Now I customized my room code. I'll show you today how you do that as well. Mine is simply ROBZ. So just type in Rob Z. And once you join, it will always ask you by default, what is your name? And you could put last name first name last, doesn't really matter to me. This is just to help the teacher identify the responders at the end of that. And then after that, you'll be brought right to the first question. And I'm going to switch back over to the teacher side of things so I can see how people are answering. And I need my laser pointer. All right, so as people are joining here, we got a couple things we can point out. There are 10 people in the room right now, 11 people, there we go, 12. So as people are joining the room, that number goes higher. And the number that have answered is the first part of that equation there. So as a teacher, I'm monitoring around the room. I'm looking to see if anybody's struggling with Wi-Fi issues. It's at a conference sometimes an unfortunate result of everybody suddenly being on the network. But if you do need help, we can come around. Elaine can come around and help too.
I can't get mine to do anything, so.
No Wi-Fi at all?
Well, I'm on there. I was on your page, and then when I try to do something, it says I can't connect.
Try a full reboot. Is that your own laptop?
No, it's my school's.
Okay. But you did get on some web page, you just said, right?
Yeah, I got on that Rob Zdrojewski.
Okay. All right.
When I wanted.
Yeah, try a restart, because then it'll grab on the network with a different IP address.
And what is the room?
The room that it's asking you for is Rob Z. I think it shows up at the top. Yeah. So when you go to Socrative.com, you click the button that says I'm a student. There's the room number listed right up top there. And I'm losing battery on that. Yeah. All right. And so how many are we expecting here then? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. I was on to 16. So roughly around 16 people in the room. So I think we're just about there. And the nice part about this is you can join in at any time. So if a student walked in late from a music lesson and you were in the middle of this, not a big deal. They can just jump right in, especially because the room number is always listed at the top there. That helps them to know that's the room number to enter. And with my students, this became a regular routine thing. So when they just saw that interface, they knew that they should go to open a new tab and go to Socrative.com. So it became quite routine after doing this a couple of times. So almost everybody has answered. I will go ahead and reveal. It says, how did we do? That's what I click on. And you can see then it color codes it for me. It shows a nice graphs here of how people answered. Looks like the majority answered that this was the first time being at this conference. And because I made this an opinion-based question, there is no right or wrong here. So you're not seeing any red choices here. In this case, it's an open-ended response. There's no right or wrong answers. So that's why everything will be color-coded as green. The explanation that you probably, did you guys see that little message? Did that pop up? Yeah, so after you answer, because when I started it, I said allow for student feedback. You were revealed, if there was a right or wrong answer, it would show that, and then it would also show in the optional explanations. So that is question number 1. When you're done having your conversation around it, you can move on to the next one up at the top by going to next. And now on your screens, it shall be showing you the next question.
You're controlling your pace.
That's right. In this scenario, it's teacher paced, and I'm controlling it. The other way would be letting you see all the questions and go at your own pace. That has advantages too. I'll show you that, how it gives you a nice chart to show you where everybody's at. And then another number I'm seeing fluctuate is in the upper right-hand corner. That shows you how many current active users are in the room. So if you're wondering if for some reason that number doesn't look accurate, I just kind of keep an eye up there. That shows us how many people are connected in the room. And one of those students was me because I hit it opened. So I'm actually going to close it. And then that should change it back, yeah, down to 13. All right, so now that we have just about everybody in, I can reveal. And this is where you might want to wait to reveal until everybody's in. Because inevitably, you might have that one student that's just waiting for you to hit that button. Now they see an answer and they answer it. So to prevent that from happening, you wait on that. Now I'm not sure why it shows red and green on this one, because this is another one where it's not a right or wrong answer situation. But I may have edited this question from another quiz, so maybe it did have a right or wrong answer in it. So it looks like the majority of the people in the room are teachers and coaches with some technical staff members. Next up is question number 3. And this one goes to show you that pictures can be used even on a small mobile device. I don't know, it looks like everybody's on a big device, but if you're on a small, like Lane's on her phone, it'll size it down accordingly to fit your small screen. So if you do have a an image and it's a relatively large image, it's nice because it shrinks it down for you. And we have a little bit of humor built into this question.
So really, when we look back at your story, my star is just as important as leaders as what we've done.
And when we were in Philadelphia, my whole family got to go see the bell, except for me, because I was teaching this workshop at the exact same time. So that's the trade-off there. So let's reveal the answers. Looks like very good. Majority got that one correct. And of course, someone probably you put in Taco Bell, right? No, this time, okay. So,
Do you have a way of telling who did that?
at the moment, no, because I can't see individuals. But at the end, it saves out a spreadsheet. Line by line, I can see how everybody did. Yep. Which I think is a good thing, because you might not want to know immediately. You out there know how you answered, but if I knew, it might sidetrack me into like, oh, well, you usually answer that. You know, I think it's good to see that at the end. All right, moving on to the next question in our sample here, and we have, this should be a different picture though. It might still be loading. When things don't look right, like in this case, there you go. If I needed to, I could always hit refresh on their screen. Instead of refreshing the browser, it's preferred that you refresh within the interface.
What happens if you refresh the browser?
There's a chance that it could bring you back to the main menu, and if it did, there'd be a little button that says actively in progress, and you click the in progress, and then it takes you back to here. So it's just multiple clicks then to get back. All right, and here we have now, notice two different ways you can enter in the answer. I showed the picture of the United States, highlighted that state, and I'm going to hide the answers in case some of you are cheating out there. I can do show names, so I can see these people have answered so far. So in this kind of answer, when it's a short answer style, I am able to see answers and names of participants individually. And the way that I have this now is in the room, we can tell who's already answered, but we don't know what they answered yet until I reveal it. So I kind of like these questions because they give you that ability. That button looks new to me. I'm not sure what it does. So, oh, that's all it does. It just changes the background. Okay, yeah, that's new. And so we have, looks like I need about 4 more people, 3 more people, then we're good. And I think the dots do not indicate how many characters each response is, just to help with the guessing game of what was typed in there. All right, so I'm going to do the reveal. So now I will say show answers and show names. So now I can see in this kind of question how everybody answered. And the correct answer was Colorado. And in my explanation, I said you could have typed in either CO or you could have typed in Colorado. Either one would work, because when you define what a right answer is here, you can put in multiple right answers with commas. All right, did some people put in CO by chance or no? No, everybody typed in the full thing. All right, so you can, I'll show you when you create your questions how to do that, to put in multiple possible right answers.
Is it case sensitive?
I believe it is not case sensitive, no, so it won't matter. Of course, spelling does matter though, so that's the one catch. Next up is, bless you, inventor of the internet, true or false? Or it's okay to say I don't know. And when I made this question up, I just did a Google image search for Al Gore internet, and a bunch of pictures come up. So then I just right-click and save the one that I want, and then I can insert it in, and it scales it accordingly. No matter what device you're on, if it needs to be smaller, it'll shrink it down for you automatically. So just about all have answered. I will reveal the answer, and very good, it is false, and it is Tim Berners-Lee is credited for inventing the World Wide Web around 1989. So now that you've experienced a short little 5-question thing, that could be what you do in your classroom, where it's short. Not meant to be a full period or a half period event, but really short to get the class started, maybe at the end of the class, maybe throughout the class. You just keep switching back and forth between whatever else you're doing and then do a question. Switch back, then do a question. I like this for faculty meetings and staff development days to kind of spice things up a bit. So every once in a while we'd say, everybody, all right, time to pull your phones out and let's all respond to another question. It kind of breaks up the flow of things in a longer presentation. So now that I'm done, I'm going to hit finish, and I will show you, it gives you the option immediately to either get the report in a spreadsheet format, view the chart, which does not involve a download, seeing it right on the screen, or going back to your dashboard. So I'm going to do the middle option right now, because that means I don't have to download anything, and that gives me a nice table here that I can sort from A to Z or Z to A for the participants for your roster. I can also say, show me where they're at if they're currently in progress. Now, it doesn't really make sense in this scenario because this is teacher-paced, but if it was student-paced, I could sort it to say, I want to see who's done and who's not done. So the scores, based on the number correct, 1 and 2 were not right or wrong answers, but in 3, if you got a green one, you got it right, red ones would be incorrect, and that's what that looks like. And it breaks it down by question, too. So I could see, was question 4 a fair question? If it looks like, okay, 71% of my 3, maybe there's a reason why that was only 71%. Maybe I worded it wrong, or I made it a trick question and I didn't realize it. So it's nice you can do that individual item analysis, as well as see what each individual person received. So I'm done looking at that report. I hit exit, and here we are back on the main page again. All right, so back to my outline. Now that you got a taste of what you can do with it, we're going to take you through some other examples in a moment here. So I've been teaching this workshop many different times in many different scenarios. Today's a 2-hour block, but I've done this as short as a half hour and as much as, I think, a 4-hour workshop, so anywhere between there. And the reason why I'm telling you that is you might go back and want to show your colleagues this, but maybe they don't have 2 hours to watch today's presentation. You can show them a little half-hour snippet of it from my past workshops. So if you click on that link there, my past Socrative workshops, that's going to take you to the document where I keep track of all the technology presentations that I've been doing, and a good majority of them in the past 3 or 4 years or so have been recorded and put on YouTube on my blog. So if you wanted to learn about this one, it is going to be the green one, using Socrative and Kahoot, and I have the link right there to it. But a short one that we did, actually Elaine was with me on this one, was NETT, which was the Niagara County Community College. That I think was just 45 minutes long. So you can click on that, it'll bring you to the blog post directly, and then there's the video to play and watch right there on the blog. So just to give you that heads up, my graduate students at Canisius will use this as well, because one of the weeks we feature tools like this, formative assessment tools, and we give them those links to check out some past presentations there. And while you're there, feel free to check out the other ones too, because there's other stuff besides just this type of Socrative stuff. All right, next up is teacher sign-up procedure for Socrative. So the sign-up procedure is very simple. You'll just simply go to Socrative.com. You'll click on Teacher Login. And if you do not have an account, you can create it now if you want in under 60 seconds. You type in your first name, last name, email address, and I believe the industry that you work in, because they want to know if you're coming from education or from healthcare or whatever genre of careers there are out there. So feel free to sign up for that if you'd like for your teacher account, and then you'll be able to make events like you'll be seeing me make in today's workshop. All right, next we go to just a reminder that both teachers and students, this is kind of new because it used to have separate places for if you're a student versus a teacher. Now everybody just goes to the plain Socrative.com site. And optional, you can install their apps, which are available on many popular platforms. So this is what the icons look like. And as you can see, they're available in 3 different web stores, also Amazon and also now the Windows Store, so actually 5 different platforms. Nothing really fancy about the apps. They're not going to give you any extra functionality because really you can open up any browser and just type Socrative.com and you'll get the same thing. The only advantage to that is, I guess especially with younger students, you can tell them, look on your iPad or look in your Chromebook for that app and click it. So it's essentially just a bookmark to get right to it. But if you want to install it, it's available across all those different platforms. Say it again?
Passing the device?
Yes, another scenario that might happen, because you might share devices. In my classroom, I had 20 iPad minis, and I taught 8 periods a day. So as period 1 would leave, I wanted to make sure that when period 2 came in and grabbed the device, they were not still logged in as the other student. So yes, you could request the students hit the sign out button, but that's never a guarantee because maybe they don't bother or they don't know how and they just forget to do that. So you have the way of clearing the room by, in your teacher panel here, teacher dashboard, going up to settings and then going to clear room. So if I were to do that, it would wipe everybody out that was in the room. Even if I was running a test, it would wipe it all out completely, automatically from my end. So that's why clear room does exist in that scenario where if you're sharing devices, how many of you might fall into that category where you're sharing devices across multiple classes? Okay, so that could be helpful for you just to make sure before you start, clear the room. Therefore, when Sarah has taken the test, she's not answering from Julie's login last period. You know, because if you're using it for a grade especially, you want to make sure you know who's taking the test and when. It does also timestamp it, so I guess you would know that too, based on when the results came in. But just as a little reminder, clear room is up there for that. So, yes?
We signed in, we just put in our own name, but I saw when I signed in, there's
plus.
Oh yeah, they may have added that now. Single sign-in. Yep.
Did the students have that then too?
The students do not have to sign in.
Johnny's name instead of my own, and you know.
No, see, the way that it works, and I think I put a note. Yes, right here. Remember, no accounts are needed for students. Only a teacher needs to make an account in order to have the dashboard and save results. But to be a student participant, like we know you guys did this a moment ago, you can't essentially create an account. All that will happen is when a teacher initiates a test, question number 1 is always going to be, give me your name. So that's the point of entry for students, so there's no need to put in any kind of login credentials. But I have had students that want to make Socrative events to then have their friends take, and there's nothing wrong with that. They can create a teacher account and take it. There's no security concerns. They're not going to interact with other teachers or anything like that. So
You haven't had any concerns with, like, you know, especially if you take it as a grade?
no, because if they're taking it as a grade, it's me that initiated the test. And so I know that they're taking the test that I made, not a test that someone else
I'm
made.
just worried about them, like, signing up as someone else or putting their name in.
It would be the same digital version of writing somebody else's name on your paper if you were doing a paper. So yeah, you're right. There's no official way unless you were to walk around the room and see how everyone logged in. Which when you are logged in, I don't think it says your name on the screen. That might be a feature request. See, whenever I do these workshops, and that's why I record them too, the makers of Socrative watch these too. Well, I'm looking at the webcam now. I'm telling them, let's make a feature request. If it doesn't exist, let's have the student's name appear on the screen. Because I'm not sure if Kahoot does that. Kahoot, their competitor, might do that. So that might be helpful because then the teacher could walk around the room and look at your device and say, yep, that's the right person because you see the name on it. So that's a good suggestion there. All right, so we got the sign-up procedure. How many of you have already signed up in the past or just now, either way, with your teacher accounts? Okay, good majority have. Very good. So now we're going to do 2 presentation modes here. We've got to explain first the difference before we jump into it. One is on the fly. And the advantages here is there's no preparation needed. At the spur of the moment, I could say, hey, now's a good time for us to do a quick Socrative question. And I can just launch it within 30 seconds and be using it. The disadvantages, though, is I can only do single questions. Unlike what we did moments ago where I had 5 questions in a row, this would just be single questions, one at a time. May or may not be a deal breaker. And also then there would be no auto-grading. So when you do it on the fly, there is no saving of the results so that you can analyze them later. So there's pros and cons to it. It's more convenient, but less data collection. And we're going to do one with a short answer example, and then I'll show you how to vote. I actually like this. It's kind of a 2-part way of doing it. Then after we do that, we're going to do the quiz mode, which is like I did earlier with our introductory one, where there's going to be some pre-made quizzes I have on digital citizenship. Math teachers will be good on that one. Exegetical example, and then our science teachers, chemistry teachers, maybe if they are in the room, a periodic table example. So I'm going to break it down between those 2 different scenarios. We'll start with the one on the fly. So the one on the fly is going to be about an app that you couldn't live without. Think about the mobile devices you use, or even desktop devices too, and what website or app or service could you not live without? And it could be as simple as email. It could be anything at all, but one that you think has really changed your ability to do stuff online and to be productive. So for that, what I'm going to take us to now is a quick question. And then I say what I asked you guys, I asked you was a short answer, so it's going to be open-ended. Now here I could put the question on the screen, or in the interest of saving time, I won't bother since I already told you what the question is. I'm going to let each person answer just once, and I don't really need your names for it either, so it'll be anonymous. So I click Start. And on your screens, assuming you're still logged in here and you didn't log out a moment ago, if you're not, jump back in again. It's Socrative.com, and the room name is Rob Z. I could see 6 people are in the room right now, so we want to get, yeah, now it's starting to go up. So start submitting that one app or service that you couldn't live without. And because I made it anonymous, you will not be asked to put in your name this time. It's meant for speed, to just get the answers. In a sense, really what we're doing now is brainstorming. We're doing a group brainstorming session for part 1, and then I'll show you part 2. I really like how they allow you to do a vote.
This is also nice for like doing prior knowledge. What's your prior knowledge on this topic? Those kind of quick answers. So you're seeing what everybody's getting. At these kind of conferences, we have people who have experience with this, no experience with this. So we're always trying to teach in the middle. So sometimes we use this at the previous conference where we were talking about the green screen technology. We have people who've been doing it for 5 years. We have people who've never done it before and want to set it up. So just to see where people are.
Are we supposed to still be in the student login? Or
Yes, in the student
I
login.
got
Yeah.
booted out.
You got booted out?
Uh-huh. This is a room with that code cannot be found. Please double check.
You sure you're doing ROBZ? Oh, with no spaces?
I'll come over.
Yeah, take a look, Wayne. All right, so as we are brainstorming in the room, you will notice that some people have put in multiple responses, and that's okay. But for the part 2 that I'm going to do here, I should have really said in advance what's the one and only, instead of the top 3 or whatever. But what we're going to do now is turn this brainstorming into a vote. So by me clicking on this button right here, Start Vote, I'm going to confirm it. Now on your screen, you get to pick one, and pick one that's not your own. So pick one that you agree with that is a very important app or service, but just make sure it's not your own so that we don't skew our results. And what will start to happen is, you can see dynamically, the popular ones are rising to the top. And in fact, there's some ties here depending on how people are answering. And so I think of this as a great way to brainstorm, for example, what's the question that should be on Friday's quiz? Like out of the stuff we learned this week, what do you think should be the thing I put on the quiz? This is where the students can self-generate some information. Then you put it out for a vote, and everybody's going to say, oh yeah, I like what I put, but I really like what so-and-so put, so I'm going to vote for that. So I've used this for brainstorming sessions. I've used it for quiz suggestions. It's a great way to open it up to a large group of people. And really, there is no number that we have to cap this at. So if you had an auditorium full of 500 students and you did this, we did it for our geography bee one year, really great thing to do with an assembly like that to get audience participation. And now we had hundreds of people brainstorming their favorite, whatever the case, I think it was something to do with geography, so it had to be like, what's your most favorite location in the United States you visited? And everybody's putting results up there. Then we hit that one button to vote, and everybody can choose one, and it's interesting to see then what floats to the top. So a neat way to use the tool. Looks like we have just about everybody in, 12 out of 14. And so what rises to the top is Google Apps and Google Classroom. Now if you also include Google on the second one, and Google on the fourth one, and Google down there too, if you really add all those percentages up, then you would truly see it's much higher than 29%. So a neat way to do a quick style question. All right, I'm going to do another one of those questions this time. And this time I don't really need to see the results, so I'm going to say take me back to the dashboard. So I'll do another quick question. This time we'll do a true-false. All right, and I will say to you out loud, and see, I don't even have to say the question yet. You're kind of weighted to see what I'm going to say here, right? Everybody's like fingers on the trigger. All right, so the capital of Florida is Tampa. True or false? And on your screens, I think you're not getting feedback of how you answered, right? Doesn't show you. And that's because some of you, depending where you're sitting, if you're in the back rows, you're seeing what people in front of you are answering, so we don't want to give that away. So I believe I know Kahoot does this for sure. I think Socrative started to as well. They hide the results. After you hit it, nobody else can look at your screen to see how you answered to help them, come up with an answer. So very good. The answer is false in that case. So you saw how quickly that was. I can just hit the question and go to another one. Let's see. This time now I'll do a multiple choice. And I'm going to ask you the question. What colors are in the American flag? Red, no, I gotta say it this way. Which color is not in the American flag? Red, white, blue, or green? And instantly there we had a whole bunch come in. See, they're just flying right in now. Now it gives you 5 answers by default, and notice I only gave you 4 choices. So if you're answering E, of course, that's automatically wrong. But it'll always give you a 5 A, B, C, D, E kind of scenario. And you could just keep going with the class and just asking them a question and throwing that in there. So, all right, here's the next one. The next president of the United States is Donald Trump. True or false? You would think I was a social studies teacher, but I was not. It tends to be, I find though a lot of social studies teachers, I will use this for some odd reason. All right, and there you go. So that was more, of course, an opinion-based question rather than a factual question. But either way, as you could see, all I had to do was click any one of the 3 here to just throw out a question verbally and have people answer. So it's a nice way to do it just on the fly. No need to prepare anything in advance. You can kind of pull it up as you see fit in the middle of class even. So I'll finish those kind of quick questions, and now we'll go back to my outline. And we are going to now flip the coin and go into full-blown quiz mode. This time around, we can ask multiple questions. It will grade itself. The results will be recorded. But of course, I had to prepare these in advance. So the first one I want to do Going to do another teacher paste example. This one, there's the SOC code. If someone wanted to use it, you could pull it in and have your own copy of this quiz. So teacher
what he means
paste.
by that is if you put that code in, you can take ownership of that quiz.
Right.
So you can edit it and things like that too, correct?
Yes, and that is found over where you manage your, right there, manage quizzes. And you go to import quiz,
And then you would just type that
and that's where that
in.
number would go in.
So there is a bank of already created quizzes for a variety of topics. So the nice part
Yes.
is don't reinvent the wheel if you don't have to. You have to be the genre or the topic's already up there for you. And that could be like another practice thing for your students.
Mhm.
Where are these?
Well, they're usually people put them in Google spreadsheets, and if you do a Google search for Socrative quizzes, you'll come across entire districts that have them categorized. It's probably not an accurate list because they change all the time, but if you do a Google search for Socrative SOC codes, you're likely going to be led to all sorts of variety there. Now, the one other part, their competition here that I'm going to show you soon, Kahoot, theirs is a little bit different. Theirs is a little bit nicer in terms of community-based sharing. If you're teaching something on right triangles, you could search the term right triangles, geometry, and it'll come up with Kahoot events that have already been done. So they're a little bit different. Socrative is not at that point yet where you can search by content, but at least they allow you to share quizzes by sharing those numbers.
And there's always ways, but if you check those out and put that code in and find something, make sure you go through the quiz first. There could be something personalized, like a student's name or something that's in there. So
That's
I
right.
always recommend go through it first.
All right, so we're going for our digital citizenship quiz. So I'm going to go to start a quiz, and I'm going to choose that one. And this time around, I'm still going teacher paste because I want to go through these one by one. This time we're going to disable feedback. So you won't know if you're right or wrong until I reveal that to you, in a sense. So we'll go to go, first question.
So it should be asking you for your name because it's a new quiz.
That's
now,
right.
So you're re-entering your name.
That's right, I forgot about that. That's why question one seems like why isn't people not answering it away, but it's actually because it's waiting for you to put in your name first. It'll always do that by default.
When you're doing that voting feature, is it, like we have multiple Googles, could you pop some of them out?
No, they don't have any way to edit those, no. Good feature suggestion though. Or to combine them, because if 1 and 5 are really the same, to kind of merge them together. All right, looks like just about everybody's answered. And again, this one I grabbed the picture. I'll show you that in a little bit when we build one of these quizzes, how you grab pictures and throw them in there. And the correct answer, yeah, you guys don't know it yet until I hit how'd we do. Now it reveals to it. So a lot of people think all of these are correct, but it's actually okay to share your first name only in like a messaging forum, your favorite music band you're interested in, because you're not identified by that individual in that location in the world. If we just know Johnny, who likes drums, lives in Buffalo, it's a safe thing because it's hard to find.
That. My name is spelled A-L-A-N-E. There's not many of me out there. I've Googled myself.
But not having a last name, right? By
My
using a first name
is
only.
pretty unique,
Yes.
right?
So first name and your favorite band, if you just had those out there, it's hard to find. But your address, of course, is personally identifiable information. That's what we teach the kids because we know that 123 Main Street in Buffalo, New York, 14226, that is a location someone could find. So that's why we say it's a situation like that where you can share some stuff, but just not the very pinpointed information. And that probably was covered. Yeah. Did you see the explanation after you answered? No. Okay. So not until I reveal it then. Okay. So that won't show up in that case. So I'm making it slightly different from the last time we did it, just so you can see the variation. All right. Next up is question number 2. What should you do if you are being cyber bullied? In my screen, I'm having to scroll up and down here because I'm connected to the projector. I'm running only, 1024 by 768, which means really blown up big. But on a regular screen, like in my classroom, I have it much bigger. So you see more stuff on the screen. You don't have to be scrolling up and down.
And Rob, we don't actually see this or the explanation on our phone that gives us complete to the next activity.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why it's good if you do have a projector in your room or a smart board that you do put this quiz up there too.
That's right.
So you can use it as a reference point back because it doesn't show us the explanation
Right.
or the response.
Right. Until I hit the button here to see how we did. 93% in the room got that one correct. Very good. And someone's throwing their computer out of the window. Is that you?
It is.
I figured it, yes. All right, and then our explanation little one was about you should always, and you can do bold, underline, stuff like that, basic context here if you needed to do that to make something stand out in your explanations. All right, moving on to question number 3, fishing with a P. Was it the same guy? Yeah. All right, so just about all are in. And again, if I was really strict here as a teacher, I would wait and say, all right, 2 of you out there haven't answered yet. We're going to sit here and wait until you answer. But chances are it could be something with a Wi-Fi issue where a person's device just dropped off within the past 10 seconds. So it seems like they're in the room, but maybe they're not. But in this case, there we go. Everybody's in, so it would be safe for me to reveal the answer. And 80% have that one correct. All right, so if this was something I needed to spend more time on, I kind of would know instantly if I need to talk about what phishing is based on the knowledge in the class. Explanation is there. And it's about giving personal information out, also known as social engineering. And that's really the biggest concern nowadays. It's not so much getting a virus on your computer. Those days are really behind us. Now it's about answering something that was sent to me which said your bank password has been changed, please click here to reset it. Like, oh, okay, that's this logo for Bank of America, this must be real, and click on it and you just gave someone your password. So always consider that. That's known as phishing, and it's best if you contact the company rather than the company contacting you, because it might not be the company contacting you. I had that happen. I showed my students an email that I got from Bank of America, and I thought it was suspicious, and I knew enough to look up at the top of the name, and it didn't say Bank of America. It was like Bank of America. So America was spelled slightly wrong. So it's very close, one letter off or in addition. So because I noticed that, I was like, wait a minute, this is not real. I contacted Bank of America, their fraud department, sent them a copy of the email. I said, yeah, this is going around. Good thing you caught it, because most people don't. Because everything looked legit. It had the image there. It looked like a real message from the Bank of America, but it wasn't. So keep that in mind, that if someone contacts you through email or phone, you can always just say, sorry, I'm going to call you back, and call back that way. Especially in the middle of the night. Anybody ever get a call like at 2 a.m. where they're like, your bank has been hacked, we need your social security immediately to prevent further abuse from happening? And the reason is you're in the middle of sleep. You're like, okay, no, it's 545-111. So that happens. They catch you while you're off guard, thinking that this is urgent, we need something quickly, your social security number, your PIN number, something like that, and they can catch people in the middle of the night. So that has happened before too. Not to me, but other colleagues have told me that that's a form of phishing for information. All right, back on the track here because I'm getting off track. So our last question is question number 4. What should you do before opening a strange email message?
How do you come up with some of these? Seriously? You click the white on your screen?
Someone's going to pick it, just watch. All right, so now for the big reveal, and there we go. The answer is simply just delete it without opening it. Not forward to your IT staff, because now I fall in that category, and I don't want to be opening everybody's email, checking it out, because that would be humanly impossible to do that all day long. And really, if it is, like my explanation says, if you're unsure, just delete it, because in the world of email, if it was important, it'll likely be resent if something was sent, unless it's the bill you have to pay and you deleted it and you forgot and now you're past due on a late bill or something. But in most cases, if it's from a person and not from another machine or a system, they'll resend it and say, hey, I sent you this, did you not see it? So that is what we say for digital citizenship about strange email messages. Now I'm done with that, so I'll hit finish. And this time around, I'll hit get reports and I'll ask you some more questions. Do you want the whole class Excel, yes or no? I'm not sure what that means, the whole class, because if it's not, it might be... Oh, then it would break it down by each individual student, how they replied. So I'd get a separate file for each student. And that's tied to that. Do I want it in a PDF format, yes or no? And do I want to break down by each question how people answered in a PDF, yes or no? So you can see I can select and choose granularly here, and then say either send that to me as an email attachment, download it immediately now to my hard drive, or I like that option, throw it into my Google Drive. And I think it's grayed out because I haven't used that feature in a while. But you'd be able to tie your Google Drive to it, so one click and it throws it into your Google Drive. So I'm not just going to skip it for now, but just to show you that all those exist. But what if I was in the middle of teaching and I just close that window? I'm like, uh-oh, I need to see that. Now what? How do I get it? Not a big deal, because you still have the ability to see all of your quiz results. Let's see, is it under here? No, it's under here then. So manage quizzes, and then that's there, my reports. It used to be called my reports. And what we just did is right there. So if I needed to see it, I could click on it, and again, I can get back to those options again. Or if I want to break down by, soon you'll know what this is because we're going to do these, a space race, or when I ran an exit ticket, or when I did some short answers. So all of those are stored from even this one today that we did, bless you. They're all stored in there and getting better at all times. You can see the default's going to go recent, so your newest stuff's always at the top. But if you want to sort by other categories, you can do that. And it stores it for you unlimited. There's no limit to how many you can do. So I've been using this tool for many years, so I could go back in time if need be and look up those results quite easily. So back to the dashboard we go. And what's next on our agenda here? Our student-paced example. So this time around, you're going to be in the driver's seat. I'm going to start the quiz. You're going to be running at your own pace, going answering the questions. And this is going to be a math example. Are there any math teachers out in the audience? All right, a couple math teachers. So you guys might have a slight advantage. So you'll see what it's like when you have students working very fast, very slow, and somewhere in the middle. You get a nice dashboard of where they're at. So let me jump back to here. I'll go to Start Quiz. It's my math example. Now I have two options here. I could do the immediate feedback, which means you immediately get the right or wrong feedback after you answer each question. You have to answer them in the order I've presented, and you can't jump around, and I'm able to monitor it with the table there. Or if I did student navigation, you have the ability to continue to edit questions, jump back and forth, and then at the end, you submit the entire thing. So I'm going to do that just in case you answer a question and then you want to go back in time. It gives you a little bit more flexibility as a student. So disable student names, no, I want to have your names. Randomize order, nope, we've never done this before, so I don't need to randomize. And we've never done it before, so I don't have to do that. So if it was a repeated event that you were doing multiple times, you might want to take advantage of the randomization. So now, it should be presented to you by entering in your name, as it usually does for the first question. And as those names come in, it builds my results table automatically. And as people, and let's say I'm going to do hide student responses. Otherwise, I'm showing the answer key, essentially, if I were to do that. But I still get to see the boxes turn kind of slightly gray when you've answered. So I know roughly where everybody's at, and it tells me your progress, too. So I can keep an eye on that. I think I can also... Yeah, I can keep an eye on your score as you go or your progress, which is kind of nice to look at either. And so the check mark means that you are finished, I believe, right? Is that what that means now? Because the check marks are new. I haven't seen those before. The percentages are how much the progress rate. But I'm going to switch now to score. So now I can see your quiz scores. And this might be sensitive information. Of course, you don't want to necessarily show this to all the students sitting out there. So at this point, I could turn off the projector. So only me on my teacher dashboard, I'm seeing the results coming in. But if I wanted to let everyone know what their score is, you could have it like that. You could also switch it instead so that it was showing the progress of how everyone was doing until they complete it. So we're just about there. When everybody finishes then, I'll go through some of the interactive pieces here. All right, so let me switch now over to scores. I can show you your scores for those of you that are finished. I believe that's what the check mark means. It means you've gone through all the questions. And if I wanted to start drilling down to, like, let's look at question number 1, I can click on it. It shows me the quiz question, and it shows me, let's see what else here, how many students answered. And if I go to how do we do, this now is showing me that looks like more than half of the class were able to get this one correct. But maybe I'd say, oh, it looks like a lot of you thought this was an acute angle. And I wonder why. So we would ask the students out there, why did you guys think it was an acute angle if you answered that? And then they would answer, and you could say, oh, okay, so maybe you thought the way I worded this was talking about letter A there being letter A, and maybe that's why you thought acute. So that's when you can demystify some of those possible mistakes across there. So I want to go back to the results table. It gives me the shortcut right back. Now notice this one has a pink instead of orangish here, so that must mean it's a different kind of question. If I were to click on it, this one is a short answer. And you could answer with this one, I think, yeah, you could type in SEVEN, or you could type in the number 7. Either way, I made them both so they would be correct. So you have the ability to make more than one possible right answer with those and still have it grade itself. And then question 3 is there. And then, of course, question 4 about the improper fraction. So now if I change this to show student responses, now that everybody's done or almost done, you can see at a glance how we did across the board. So it looks like maybe question number 2 is pretty good. Most of the class understands it. But based on my colors here, maybe I really need to look at question number 1 because, you know, a third of the class was getting that one wrong. So you get the results in a color-coded table like that. And that's how that breaks down. All right, so let me finish that one. We won't bother looking at the details since we have it there, but if we needed to look deeper into the results, we could do that. And my next example with you guys is the exit ticket example. All right, so the question that's going to say, it's going to say answer the teacher's question on the board. My question on the imaginary board here is, what's impressed you the most at this conference, at the NYSCATE conference from what you've experienced so far? I want to know the thing that's impressed you the most. So has anyone done a paper-based exit ticket before as a exit kind of strategy? Okay, so this is now the digital version of a paper-based exit ticket. You don't have to worry about reading the student's handwriting. Don't have to worry about catching them before they leave to make sure they did it. This way you can do it electronically. So to launch that, I have the one button right here. It's just a one button click. You click it, and now it has been started. Someone's doing Kahoot.
Yeah, someone's doing Kahoot next door.
That noise you hear, you're going to hear it in this room in a few minutes. That noise is Kahoot.
I hope you turned up equally loud.
Yeah, really. So remember, the teacher's question on the board says, what has impressed you the most at this conference? That's the question of the day. And so this is a quick 3-question type of ordeal to just get your feedback before the class ends. See, there's new music too, depending on how long you choose. And if we didn't want to see the results revealed, remember I can hit the button that hides it, so the rest of you now are not seeing how your colleagues are answering.
So you really use this kind of beginning to end in the class, and you can have it running. It doesn't
Right.
time out.
Nope.
So you can
Once you have everybody in the room, it keeps
Little bit
going.
there, still in there, and then
That's right. You can keep filming back forward. In fact, I'm glad you said that. I had instances where I would leave a Socrative event running for multiple days at a time. Maybe to prepare for the big final exam on Friday. I would say starting Monday, you can take a practice version with different questions and keep retaking it over and over again. And I would tell them when you take it, first time put in Rob Z1. Next time you do Rob Z2, Rob Z3, Rob Z4. So you just increment your name each time. So then I as a teacher know, oh, look at that, Johnny's taken it 11 times. So, you know, he's put his effort in to prepare for it. Whereas somebody else is not up there at all, and I can say, oh, well, you didn't really study in the way that we were hoping you would study for it by looking at the sample questions. So once you have it running, it stays going 24/7 until you end it. The downside is you can't run multiple at the same time. I've had some teachers that wanted to do that. So their workaround is to create multiple accounts, like multiple teacher accounts, which works. You just have to remember the right username and password for each account. But that's a workaround to be able to do multiple simultaneous events.
leverage to different groups.
That's right. Like maybe you have a different quiz running for period 1 versus period 2 kind of thing. Or if you teach 7th grade and 8th grade, you know, like I did, you could have it running differently that way. So as you're seeing up here, it's very short information. You can't really read into it. That's why you would click on the results there, and now you can see the full thing here. If you needed to reveal, like show me only the answers, or show me only the people that have answered so far, or show me both, it's kind of nice to be able to do that. So now I can see the full answers that way. And if someone puts something inappropriate up there, like maybe the thing that Elaine wrote and people aren't supposed to see that, I can hit hide answer real quickly there, and it just applies it to that one row. So that might be something that comes in handy depending on how gutsy your students are to do inappropriate things in front of the whole class. So they give the ability to fine grain turn off stuff line by line. All right, so back to results table, and then if I needed to see the answers to number 3, which was please answer the teacher's question, the things that you were found to be the most impressive, they're all listed there. And sometimes people will write, sentences. Some will write just a few words. Some will write a mix of both. It's open-ended, so there's no limit to how much they type in, but you cannot put in the little avatar symbols and stuff like that, because kids will ask, how do I put a little emoticons or emojis in there? Emojis, right? So it's just for text and numbers. All right, so we're done with that experience. I can hit finish, and then back to the dashboard. So maybe now in my planning period, I would go back and look at the results, and that would help inform me for the next day's instruction. All right, moving back to our outline, and the next one I want to do with you is the space race. Now, this is a little bit of gamification. Kids like this because you're working with partners now, and you're working to compete against other people in the room. We're going to run this as a chemistry example here with the periodic table. So it's called the space race. I click that to launch it, and now I get a couple of options. First of all, select the quiz that I want to do, and I said the periodic table one. Now, the number of teams. This means the number of people working together on a team to accomplish the moving of your spaceship forward on the progress bar. All right, in a room of this size, I might say it makes sense to have like roughly 2 people per team, maybe 3 people. We'll go 3 people per team. That'll be maybe around 5 or 6 teams. So I'll say give me 6 teams, and it's going to automatically divide you up, or I can select who's going to be on the team. So this is where it gets a little tricky, so I have to explain this just right. Auto-assigned teams might fit in a scenario like this where I don't know my audience right now. I don't know your level. Some of you might be high, middle, low level. I don't know. So it might make sense to just take the luck of the draw, and it'll group you all together. But if I go to student select teams, maybe I know the levels of my students a little better, and I could say, all right, this high-level student with this low-level student and that middle-of-the-road student. You guys are on the blue team, so make sure you pick the blue team. All right, the next group, the yellow team. So you, and you guys are going to be the yellow team. So I'm in my head deciding that I make a high, medium, and low kind of, so you don't have all the high end and all the low end competing against each other. It mixes people up. So if I put it on auto-assign, you will not be asked to pick a color. It'll just randomly assign you a color. But if I were to put it as this one, it's going to present you with a choice of 6 different colors, and it would say, choose the color team that your teacher gave you. So does that make sense, how I explain that? So in a room like this where I don't know where everybody's at, let's just go for auto-assign. So the computer's going to randomly give you a color, and you'll see your little symbol. Now this is new. It used to be just rockets. Now we can choose, let's go with a unicorn this time around. So we have the racing unicorns down the track. Now, hide student right or wrong feedback. That has to do with when you answer a question, if you see on your device, if you got it right or wrong. I'm going to say, yes, let's give you that option where you get to see it, so you get that instant feedback. I'm a fan of that. I believe in that. But it makes it a little bit less of a secure testing environment, so just keep that in mind also. No, I want to put it this way. So hide. So no, I'm not going to hide. Yeah, sometimes it's confusing. Should it be a yes or no? So I leave it this way. I will not be hiding student feedback, so you're going to see it. So now when I click Start, you should be asked right now to do your name like usual, right? Put in your name. That helps me then to be able to track results at the end, so I know how people are responding. And then you'll just keep going. Now at the top of your interface, you'll see a color on your screen that lets you know which color you are up here. And right now the blue team is in the lead. So when anyone on that team gets a right answer, it bumps you forward. If you get a wrong answer, it just doesn't affect it. It does not go negative. It just doesn't move your little unicorn forwards. So I have to keep my eyes up there to make sure I watch which one goes first, because it does not tell you who wins. And right now it's a 3-way tie. Ooh, the teal team is leading ahead.
Go faster.
And 3-way tie right now. Let's see who's going to reach it. And the teal team is in first. So the teal team, second place is the blue team. And third place is, as the unicorns are going,
Magenta and peach.
it's
So on
either...
the top of your quiz, whatever color at the top, it will say your color. So I was blue.
Oh, we might have run out of questions, so that might be it. You reach a point where everybody's
When you
done.
get to this one where it says you're waiting for the teacher, you can't see the color anymore, but prior to that,
Yes.
all of yours at the top, whatever color
Yes.
it was the team you're on.
Yeah, if you didn't notice that, you might not have known. You just were answering questions, but there was a color stripe across the top of your interface.
And it says
They include you in.
team color blue.
Yeah.
For me.
So a downside here is if you weren't watching the screen and you looked at it right now, you don't know, was it the teal team or the blue team? I don't know. It doesn't flash it or it doesn't say anything. So that is a feature request of mine I've been hoping that they implement. But I was watching and I could say if you were on the blue team, you won a candy bar or something. You know, you won the prize of the day. And they got there. So that means the most answers, right answers were supplied by that team. And again, that's kind of why you want to balance the class out so that you're not unfairly ending up with like 3 high-level kids competing against 3 low-level kids. You know, then it's kind of a no-brainer of who's going to win that. So that is what they call the space race. It used to be just your spaceship, but now you got a bunch of different symbols there that they really spiced it up with. So back to the dashboard, and all those results, if I needed to see them now, I could jump back into Manage Quizzes. I would go to my reports, and the most recent one, there it is. And I could say view the chart. And so score, here's how all of you did, your scores going down the row there. And as you can see, it breaks it also down by question. So a pretty tricky one looks like was question number 1. Only 14% were able to get that one right. That one was the one about tungsten. And it looks like most people chose T for tungsten, but actually no, it's W. And my little explanation, I think you saw it, right? Did you see it in there? Tungsten is found in light bulbs, and they're measured in watts. So W watts, tungsten. That's what I remember from 11th grade chemistry class. So that is how we do the space race. And you can go through and see each one, of course, individually, see how everybody did, and analyze those results after the fact. But I do like this table view because I think it's a nice high-level overview of how everyone did per question and per student. And if you needed to, you could drill down by clicking on one of the question numbers like that, and it pulls you in, and then you can see specifically how the majority answered. All right, so does that all make sense? The space race and then analyzing results at the end? All right. So what I have next here for you is, we've been doing the analyzing results, so you saw that. Let's demonstrate now how to create one of these quizzes. So that would be done by going to Manage Quizzes, and I'm going to create a quiz. And if you're noticing why these are real big, it's because this interface is meant to be a touch interface. Maybe you're doing this all on an iPad, or even smaller, the screen of an iPhone or an Android phone. So they made everything nice and touch-worthy capable, so if your primary computer was this, and I didn't have a mouse or a keyboard, you still could navigate around the site pretty well. So they put some thought into that to make sure that if you're completely mobile using tablets or smartphones, it's not a hindrance to work with it. So if we go to Create a Quiz, I got to give it a name. We'll call this one Sunday Afternoon Example. Share the quiz. If I say yes, that means anyone out there that has the code can use it. Now tags are something new they've added. They've added some Common Core tags in here, so I believe if I said this had something to do with math, and it had to do with grade 6, and it had to do with geometry, and then it'd be 6GA. Right, click right on it. Is that how we do it? And then enter. Oh, there's individual ones. That's right. You have to check which one. So if I want to tag it, it would tie into that. So if I close it then, so this particular quiz itself, not the actual question, but the quiz overall, I'm saying is based on those Common Core standards. And that really is there for, I believe if they don't have it implemented yet, they're going to eventually have it where you can search for a quiz based on Common Core standards. They've been talking about that for many years, so I'm not sure if it's been implemented or not, or if it's going to be one of those paid premium features that you use, because right now I'm using the completely free version of Socrative, but they've talked about for many years upgrading it to having paid scenarios where you have options like that. So notice we have our 3 types of questions, multiple choice, pretty straightforward. And if I had a picture, I could put it in. So in this case, I'm going to say, what color typically is a ripe banana? All right, so we got a food question here. Now I need an image, so I'm going to go off to Google, opening up a new tab, and type that in, give me my images, and find one that we are happy with. I'll say I like that one. So I guess this would be a quiz for an elementary school grade because you know the color's yellow because it's right there. But if I go to View Image, right-click on it, I'm going to save that image. And for now, I'll just save it right to my desktop. All right, so back to Socrative. Now I can go to this little button here, and it asks me where is that picture. And I've done this on a Chromebook before too, so you don't have to be on a Windows or a Mac. You could be on a Chromebook, and it allows you to jump into Google Drive as your place where you're storing your files. And it'll take a brief moment to put it in there, because what it's doing is making sure it makes a version capable for the really large screens down to the small screen, so it customizes it just right. Formatting, if I were to turn that on, notice I can do things like bold and italics like that. So if you have formatting on, it does that. If not, it'll just be plain. And then your answer choices could be red, blue, yellow, and because that's the right answer, we check it, and purple. And then looks like they give you 5 answers by default. You could keep going and add more answers beyond 5 if needed. If you wanted to put that optional explanation in, you can do that. But if you're happy with it, you just hit that orange save button, and there is as simple as that, putting in your question. So I could keep going with this, adding additional multiple choices. True, false is going to look pretty much the same, except you just have basically true or false. And then, let's trash can it. And then short answer is the one where you can put in possible explanations, and they are optional. If you do not put them in, it's not going to grade them automatically. So let's say this time around, the abbreviation for New York is, and correct answer could be NY, and I think it's, yeah, that's right, it's going to be add, that's right. And capital and lowercase does not matter. It's not case sensitive from all the testing that I've done. So in this case, you could type in either abbreviation for New York. Well, this doesn't make sense. I'm thinking of it, I meant to say like the state we are in right now is. That would make more sense.
Well, yeah, so you can add as many of the optional choices below.
That would make more sense, because now you could be typing in either or instead of me saying what is the abbreviation or what is the full name. So they both would work. The explanation is optional, and then when you're happy with it, you hit save, and there it is. So now to preview it, let's see, are they adding a preview? No, you have to actually save and exit, and then you have to start it in order to see it. Or there used to be a way to preview it. Maybe it's under Manage Quizzes?
I don't think it's previewable anymore.
Yeah, maybe they
That was
removed
the
that.
last version of it.
Yeah, now it's just a matter of editing it. So if I needed to come back, I can go back to edit, change things around. When I'm happy with it, save and exit. And then it is saved under
Like
My
Rob
Quizzes.
mentioned, this is a really nice company when it comes to taking your suggestions. I think
Yeah, they are.
done this
They're open to a lot of
3
ideas,
or 4 times, and every time we had a suggestion, they honestly watch Rob's presentation for their section, and they'll come back and say, "Oh yeah, that's a great idea," or "We're looking for that for the next version. You know, watch out, it's coming soon." So it's very good feedback from this company. They want to hear your suggestions.
And a little bit of history on them. Socrative was a company that came out of Boston, and they became acquired, as most small startups do, by a big company called Mastery Connect. Some of you that might deal with the Common Core standards a little bit know that they have question banks they work with, and Mastery Connect is a big parent company. So now they've gobbled up this smaller little entity, which means now they have a lot more resources behind their belt and to really ramp up the ability of how this tool works. So that acquisition happened about 1.5 years ago, and since then there's been changes, new features added, the interface looks different, easier to navigate, so I think it's a good thing. It's one of those tools, if you start using it, you don't have to fear that it's going to suddenly go away. Right now there's not, as far as I know there's not, but there's been talk about having a paid premium version, especially because it's become so popular for people to use. You know, they want to build a big base of customers and then roll out, if you like this, wouldn't it be nice if you had that? And, you know, create a monthly subscription type deal or something like that.
But so far, free.
Yeah, but so far free. Everything you're seeing me do is all part of it. Yep. All right, some of the advanced features to look at then. Customizing your room name. If you saw, I have the vanity name. It's like a vanity license plate of Rob Z. The default is going to be letters and numbers. So rather than having it be abstract or it doesn't make sense to kids to memorize it, you can go into the settings area. This is, of course, being logged in as a teacher account. And you go to My Profile. In this area, first name, last name, email, and then room name. So, of course, it's got to be a room name that nobody else out there in the world has taken. So once you have taken it and claimed it as your own, make sure you keep it and don't change that. And then if you ever need to change your password, it's there. Your other schools, oh, look at this. We actually should change that because I no longer work there. How do you change it, though? Oh, select your school. And then it lets you type it in. No, it doesn't do it. All right, so we'll have to check that one out later. Oh, yeah, zip code and all that stuff. Yeah, okay, so I'll do that later. So that's where you do it, though, your room name. Once you put it in, go down and hit submit, making sure that of course, now it's going to make me do that. Once you hit submit, it will let you know if it worked or not. If it was already taken, it'll stop and have you put in a different room number. All right, so that's one advanced feature. Another one I have for you is clearing the room. That I think I showed you already. Clearing the room is in the upper right-hand corner by hitting, not refresh, the one right above that, which is settings, and you go to clear room. That'll wipe out all the devices. Nobody is logged in anymore at that point, so it's safe to have another class then use the same devices to take it. And then sharing quizzes among teachers, we've mentioned that with all those SOC codes, kind of like serial numbers. So that's how you would share with other grade level teams or departments in your groups. All right, so any questions on Socrative before we change gears and flip over to the other tool? Yes? Not possible. Not with Socrative, but with Kahoot it is possible. Not really to upload a video, but to take a YouTube video link and put the YouTube video in your questions. For Kahoot, yes, you would have to put that video on YouTube. Once it's on YouTube, grab the link to it. Yeah, but it could be a unlisted video so that the world wouldn't see it. You just got to have the link to see it. So that'd be a way to do it. Any other questions on Socrative? Because we're going to take a little short break here, and then we'll change gears when we come back and work on Kahoot. All right, let's do that. So 5-minute break. When we come back, we'll be looking at the opposing product, which is known as Kahoot. All right, folks, so we'll get back to it. Going to change gears here now and look at Kahoot, which is another similar tool for formative assessment. Starting out with, there's really two places that you go to use this tool. The first one to create your account is getkahoot.com, because I believe the regular name of kahoot.com was taken already. So they made the website getkahoot.com. And you'll see there is an orange button to sign up for free. So that's how you create your teacher account. I've already created one, so I'm going to click on sign in. And once I sign in, it's going to, it looks like I'm already logged in. So it doesn't even bother asking me for username and password, so I'm in already. Now I have a total of 10 Kahoots. Kahoots would be the equivalent of a Socrative quiz. So think of them, instead of calling them quizzes, they call them Kahoots. And the one that I want to do, let me see if I made a note to myself here, which one? The triangle sample one. So we're going to do a triangle-based quiz. All right, so this one has 14 questions in it. Here's a little preview of what the questions are coming up, but you're going to, of course, see them. I want you to take note at how long I'm giving you to answer each question. Some of them you're going to have a maximum of 20 seconds. Some are 30. Some are real quick, like only 10 seconds. And some I give you time to think, up to 60. You can create how long this time frame is when you make your Kahoot, which I'll do after we take the event. I'll show you how to make them. So I'm going to start it now so we all play it. And I have to pick some options here. Let me go full screen with it. Display game pin. Yes, I want to do that. In case somebody were to walk into the room late, they could join us at any time. I want to keep the instructions minimized. I'm not going to bother randomizing since we've not done this before. And we'll say yes, we can keep the music in the lobby while we are waiting. Some of the advanced options. I want to control the pace, so I'm not going to choose to automatically move. I'm not going to require you to keep logging in each time after we do Kahoots. And we don't need to talk about the Wi-Fi because we're already on the Wi-Fi. So I'm going to leave it like it is. Those are all of my options. And now I got to mute this a little bit because it'll play the music in a moment here. All right. Yeah, because in the other room, right, they had a LED like this. All right, so you are going to go to the website kahoot.it. Kahoot.it in a new tab in your browser. And the game pin you're going to put in is listed right there. Something to note, Kahoot.it is a website from outside of the United States. Does anyone know where it is from? Italy. Very good. That's what the IT stands for. And I didn't know that until I took the job at Oakfield, and we found out that our website filter was blocking websites from Italy. All websites globally, anything at all from Italy. So I had to talk to our regional BOCES group that controls the filter and ask them to unblock that for us. So if you run into that situation, you might get in just fine as a teacher to make this stuff on getkahoot.com, because that's a .com. But the moment you go to take it in class and expect it to work, it might be blocked on your school network. So just be aware of that. That's a situation my teachers ran into. So kahoot.it and getkahoot.com. Those are the two sites that you need to make sure are whitelisted.
That was gonna be my quiz question. Come on.
Oh, it was?
No.
So we get to see how many players are in the room. Right there's our total number right now. The names are all here, so you in the audience can see if you are officially registered with our event by seeing names up there. And let's say that somebody did something inappropriate and they put this name in down here. Okay, let's pretend it said something like a swear word. If I were to click on it, all right, now I say, now which one of you did that? I walk around the room, and when she, do it now.
No, you've been kicked out of the
Show
game.
them your screen.
Oh, sorry. I'm sorry, retaking it.
See the color of her screen? So she's wearing the scarlet letter, right? That's the equivalent of that. So we know that because it's red,
Bottom. Oh no, you've been kicked out.
so you won't necessarily know right away who put in that swear word up there or that inappropriate thing until you click it out, walk around the room, and then it becomes very apparent. At that point, as a teacher, you got choices. You could single out that student and embarrass him or her in front of the whole class to make it a teachable moment, or you could just privately say, you know what, let's talk after class.
Yeah, it's still red.
And it stays red, yes. It'll stay red until she answers the first question. So it has that mark up there for a little bit. All right, so 12 people have joined. I'll say it looks like that's about everybody in the room, so I'll start it. Now, unlike before, your eyes cannot be on your device. Your eyes have to be up here on the big screen where you see the question right now. And here comes the responses. It's based on a color code. And now I didn't touch a thing. It automatically stops when either everybody answers in the room or when time runs out, whichever happens first. So it's kind of neat that it does that. So if I needed to bring up the question again, I could click that, and it'll show the image of whatever I had in case it was important. And in this case, I could see majority answered that. The check mark is there because that is correct. So the majority in the room did get that one correct. Now, a couple of things to point out on the interface. On the bottom left side, it's always going to have the login website. And it's always going to have the game pin as well. So that's helpful. If someone were to walk in, they can join at any time. I always had it where maybe an administrator walks in the room and says, oh, cool, and he'll pull out his phone and he'll join in. So it's one of those things where you don't have to worry if you didn't jump in the beginning. And if your Wi-Fi dropped on somebody's device, that would happen to my kids too. Not a big deal. When I grade this, I would look at how many could they have answered, not how many should they have answered. So if there was a Wi-Fi issue on somebody's device, especially if you're using your own data plans, and that may or not be less reliable than the school Wi-Fi, that helps. Because if someone said, hey, you can't score me out of 30 because I couldn't answer 3 of them, then I score them out of 27 points. So that is something you'll see at the end. I'll go to next, and this is cool because you always see the scoreboard. This is our top 5 standings right now of the whole class. So no matter how many you have, including when we did this with our Geography B and there was about 600 kids in the audience, it always would show the top 5 people that made it in. Now you out there as well know where you rank because on your interface, right, it says your current ranking and it says who you're in front or behind to kind of, or tied with, to give you a little bit of a nudge. So in a room where the kids know each other, be prepared to not do what I'm doing right now because you're not going to be able to. They're all excited. They're all yelling, ha, I got 12 points. I'll be ahead of you. It's hard for you to silence them because there's excitement in the room. So be prepared for that. You can't, at first I was getting angry because I was like, no, I have to talk about this before I move on. But I'm thinking, they're having fun. This is what they like to do. This is competitive for them.
It's
So
for adults. It's so competitive. It's crazy.
if you're a control freak like me and you want to get that class to quiet down, it may not happen right away. So if you choose to do this during an observation and you're worried that the observer is going to say you don't have control of your class, take all that into consideration. Maybe that would be something you talk about in the pre-conference to let them know that this is an exciting event and it's not your typical number 2 pencil bubble sheet style test where the room is silent, but we're engaging with the material in a fun, exciting way, and kids are actively trying because they want to get higher scores. Now, you might be wondering, where do these scores come from? You get 1,000 points if you are correct and you answer right away, right within like a second or two. But if you wait till the end, the point value goes down incrementally until it reaches 500 points at the very last second. So the most you're going to get for a question is 1,000. The least you're going to get is 500 if you get it right. If you get it wrong, you get nothing. So by doing that, those numbers, kind of like high stakes in terms of the point value, you can raise and lower your ranking among the class. But that for me was just always done for fun. I told the students when I put the grade in the grade book, it's not based on your point value here or how quick or slow you are. It's based on the number correct. So to win the candy bar in class, or I had a Skittles machine, to get the handful of Skittles for me to give you the quarter, it's for the top 5. So that's just for the extra added incentive. It's not to worry about what goes in the grade book, because there were kids that would not really read that fast, and I didn't want to penalize them because they're still getting them right, but it took them a while to do so. All right, so with all that said, we move on to the next one. Now your eyeballs have to always be up top, so you're looking at your device only when it's time to answer. And the question pops up at the very top of the screen always too then. And so we have the right answer is less than 90. Just about everybody has that correct. And again, if you're wondering, how do I see the results of everybody? At the end, just like Socrative had, I can look at a spreadsheet of results and see who are those 3 people that got them this one incorrect. Moving on next, and there's our changeover of the scoreboard, with Ash being in first place, and a pretty close tie for second and third too. Here comes the next one.
Oh, I was too fast. It's up there.
And if you get it wrong and you can't go back. So you got to be careful. If you got a trigger finger, you got to be careful, because once you answer, that answer is locked in. In fact, now they're just confirming it for about a half second on your screen, so you know the one you pressed is the one you think you pressed, but then it disappears, because if we were in a computer lab and all the screens, like in my classroom, they were all around the perimeter, so you could see everybody's monitor, you would not know how somebody else answered. At first, they didn't have that, and kids were just looking around like, most people did the green one, so I'll do the green one. So now they've eliminated that, so you only get to see it just for a split second to confirm it to you, and then it's holding you there until you see the results like this. And the music is different too, if you notice that. Depending on how long you have to answer, if it's like the one here, one of my questions, you're going to only have 10 seconds to answer. And you'll know it just by listening, because suddenly you hear a real fast-paced beat music, whereas opposed to the one where you get a full minute, it's a much slower tempo. So they've built that in to help you, just by listening, understand if you got to answer right away or if you have some time to work it out.
And I'm sorry, Ash, but he did not bring a candy bar, so he keeps talking about the winner getting that.
Yeah, I don't have that. And right now it's a 2-way tie between Jamie and Ash. It's a 2-way tie, that's right. We could make that the prize, actually.
What?
The screen flow.
You're ruining my game now. I can not focus.
All right, 11 people again got that one correct. And these images, by the way, I did the same thing like I did before. I went to Google, did an image search in a new tab, grabbed the image I liked, downloaded it to my desktop, and then when I build the questions, which I'll show you in a little bit, you can select it and add it in. You don't have to. If you don't put in a picture, you'll just have the generic Kahoot logo there. So to save time, you can skip adding in pictures, but I know a lot of teachers like to do that to give it a little emphasis for whatever it is they have on the screen for their questions. All right, and Jamie now takes the first place spot. Moving on. This is the fast one. Only 10 seconds on this one. And we got everybody in within 8 seconds there, and very good. Everyone has that one correct. I tried, because I thought that was an easier one, I chose to make that one only 10 seconds. I think you can go as low as 5 seconds and as much as 2 minutes within that time frame. They have some choices you can do there. All right, and we have Ash back in the first place spot. It looks difficult, but it's not that difficult. Have you seen this one before?
No. I don't know how to rewrite.
All right, so it's the Pythagorean Theorem. I heard some gasps up there because it looked like a long one at the beginning. But really, I was just looking for the name of the theorem. And it's not me that created it. This guy, I knew he's the curriculum developer. He was coming in the one day to observe me, so I made sure I threw that one in there with his last name. And then, of course, it's not the Babylonian theory. All right, and Ash is still hanging on, but Jamie's close, and Heather's not too far away either. All it would take is just getting one wrong, and then that bumps you down. You lose 500 to 1,000 points by not jumping up. So it could change at any time. Next question.
Oh, see, my network is slow, so I'm experiencing delays.
That could happen, yes. Are you on the Wi-Fi here?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so 12 people got that one correct. The hypotenuse, show the image, and it's the side of the sea. And that's what I like. If someone then, this could be kind of a follow-up question as well. If that's the hypotenuse, where's the right angle always going to be? Okay, it's the opposite of that, so it's on the opposite side. So that does, in this case too, we could say, how long is c, by the way? We know that 12 squared plus 5 squared equals c squared. And if we know the Pythagorean theorem, and by the way, the reason why I'm doing this is I did this. As a Lego robotics unit, the students had to program their Lego robots out in the hallway, which is simulated Mars surface. Our floor tiles were 2 feet by 2 feet. They had to go from one quadrant to the next, to the next, to the next. But they were not allowed to use any tape measures or rulers or anything at all. So if they knew that this weighs 2 feet and this weighs 2 feet, but they have to go diagonally over there, well, isn't that also 2 feet? No, that's actually longer than 2 feet. Well, how much is it? Well, wouldn't it be nice if there was this formula that existed that you could figure it out? Oh, there is. It's called the Pythagorean Theorem. 2 squared plus 2 squared equals c squared. And they're like, oh, okay, so that's why you use it. That's why the math teacher's teaching me that, and why they're saying that I'll need it someday. Okay, now I see that. So it was an applicable way for me to take what they were teaching in, I think it was 7th and 8th grade math, I think. And so how to use that to do something with robotics. So that was my whole reason of teaching triangles. So this what you're taking now is an actual lesson that I did back a couple of months ago, around February or so, I think it was. So Ash has still got that top spot. And question number 8. This one would make us hungry. We would see this question right before lunch. The music is different too. They've since changed the music because I'm recognizing different music here. All right, majority have that one correct. And next question. All right, across from angle C, across from, in this case, you would want to pull up the image again so you could look at, all right, there's angle C, hypotenuse is across from there. And that's how we do that. Aha! Now, notice there are 2 possible right answers. I built this in to show you that it's not always just one right answer, because it was B, and it's also A. So in that case, how do you do it? Well, you get to check mark as many as you want as the right answers. In fact, I don't know why you would, but you could have all 4 of them be the right answer, or 3 of them, or 2 of them, or 1 of them. So you can pick and choose possibly more than one potential right answer. That might feel like a trick question to kids, but once they know that you're a teacher that does that, and it looks like that may have boosted up. Jamie's up at the top now, followed by Sarah, and then Ash dropped to 3rd. But we're still very close. It's still a very close game there. Next one. That was a quick one. You hear how fast that was? You can hear the little ping sounds when people are answering. And that one was just about unanimous. All but one, we had that one correct. The equilateral triangle. And our next question. Aha, a little tricky there too, kind of, huh? The answer is none of these, because what is the right answer? How many degrees? 60, that's right. It's 60 and 60 and 60. And equilateral, they're all the same. So you almost knew that answer before the choices even popped up. If you were clued in to equilateral triangle, that means everything's equal. All right, and next we have almost at the end here, second from the end. What type of angle is this one? It's another quick one, based on the sound, the pacing of that tempo of that music. Very good. Nobody picked the crazy angle. Everybody got that one correct. And there's the scoreboard. Now we have one final chance on our final question. Another angle type question. Hopefully that's an easy one for everybody. Yeah, if you heard the sounds there, that sounded like everyone got it right and got in quickly and very good. So a lot of high points on that one. Let's see what we got. All right, congratulations goes out to Jamie. So when you hit end, you get to celebrate. Jamie would get to stand up. You could, yeah, she won a chip clip. There you go. I don't have candy bars today, but I have a Canisius chip clip. How's that for a prize?
Really cost you $35.
All right, now we're not done yet. Not done yet because when I go to feedback and results, now on your screen, you're getting the chance to give some feedback about the rating of this on a scale of, I think, 1 to 5, is it? And then how well you felt it was for learning, how well you would recommend it to another teacher to use the same event, and how you currently are feeling. The reason for these is this is meant to be a social type of tool. So if someone else wanted to use the triangle quiz that Rob Z created, because I left it as public, by default they're public, someone out there in the world could search triangle quiz. And they could search keywords I hid in. They're like acute triangle, obtuse triangle, things like that. And they might come across my quiz, and they might say, well, should I get Rob's or should I get somebody else's? Well, according to this, it's a 4.6, and most people are saying it's learning. It looks like most people are happy after they take it, so maybe I'll go with that one. So it's just a way to kind of, yeah, that's right. I think it's probably directly related to how well you did. Question back there?
Do you get a report on this part too?
Yes, I'm getting to that, yes. Yeah, you mean the feedback part?
Just the feedback part too.
Yeah, I think they actually,
Their answers
yes.
included in.
Yep,
Okay.
I believe, and we'll take a look, because I believe it's part of it too. So when we're all done, everybody answered. After that number gets higher there, I go to that. And now it shows me the top 5, and I get to go right here to Save Results. And they expanded it now because you can download it as an Excel spreadsheet file, or you can save it directly into Google Drive. So I'm going to do that option. And I have more than one Google Drive, so I'm not sure which one it's going to save it in. That's my personal one, not my school one. All right, so we'll go into there and look at it. So we go to my drive. And it's stored right there, 238, that's the one. So we get to look at the names, and you can, I think, play around with the columns here, right? Maybe, maybe not. Might have to open with, I'm going to open it with Google Sheets. Therefore, it'll convert it from an Excel spreadsheet file. It'll convert it to a Google Sheets file. So now I get to do all the nice things with Sheets, like share it with other colleagues and play around with column size and all that. So make that a little bit smaller so everything is easier to read in one view. So there's a number of correct answers, incorrect answers, and score based on how they answered. And then you can see color-coded red and green, depending on how people have done across the board. But then I can go down here to the ratings tab, and so maybe you can't see it per student, how each student did. That's just the overall ratings as a whole conglomerate, not, yeah, I guess not like that. But for questions, here's question 1. And number of answers, average answer speed, the percent correct, and then the breakdown of how each person answered. So that's an item by item analysis, question by question that way. Maybe they have one at the end for how well you feel. No, they don't. Okay, so when you are looking at just the feedback results, it looks like it's just an overall ratings view that they put in as a tab. All right, so that is where you look at your results. And just like when we were in the other tool, if you forgot to do the save piece, not a big deal, because you can always go back in your main area, your Kahoot area, underneath your username. You can go to My Results, and that will show you all the results from today right there, going back in time to when you did this event, back in the school year here, and it keeps going. I can see all the results again. Another thing you can do, I'm going to switch back to this view though, is play again. And if you play it again, it would be nice to be able to play against yourself. So since there was about 15 people playing, if I hit this, ghost mode, Now it would take the ghosts of you, which means the results that you've done in the past, as well as the people currently still logged in, and we'd start it, and therefore we'd have double the amount of people. So that's a great way to play against, I gotta mute that. You can play against yourselves, or if you want to play against another class. So period 2 can be playing against the kids that just took it in period 1, but not in real time. It's the ghosts of them, so the results are coming in. Does that make sense? So
It matches everything.
it matches everything. So if Heather took 3 seconds and answered question 1 with a B, that same thing will happen again, even when Heather's not in the game, because it's the ghost of Heather answering. So it's neat to play that against yourselves to see if you improve against yourself, or simply play it against another class. And that's where you can really have some fun there and go in and say, all right, everybody, looks like period 2 did not too bad. Let's see if you guys can beat period 2. So let's go in and play again against the ghosts of that class. And then if I wanted to offer this to students to play maybe from home, like if you guys wanted to play it later, I could hit share link. And now I can share that link out in however mode that I share it. In my class, it was always Edmodo was our way to share, but Google Classroom or whatever you're using to do, even email it out to all of your students, you send that link out, and now they can take it as an individual and play against the ghosts of everybody else. So it's really meant to be a tool, not just for the teacher to create events, but for the kids to create too, and play against each other. And I might even have, if I was still teaching in a classroom situation, I would have all my students create a Kahoot, and then we'll use the best one as the official one we use on Friday's class or something like that. So that's kind of another way to gamify it, is you're learning your stuff when you're practicing those vocabulary terms again, because you're trying to make quizzes, and then you can take it, your friends can take it, or if you're lucky, the whole class will take it because the teacher picks it. So lots of ways to use Kahoot, not just from a teacher-driven standpoint, but also from students as well. The number of public Kahoots available is now 4 million, right? 4.4 million, I think that number would be. So the number is really high. So let's say, for example, you were teaching something on, what's a good example here? What's one that I always used?
States.
States. Geography, like kind of states. U.S. states. All audiences, all Kahoots. Search it. Let's see if anything exists out there. All right, so we got some. So United States geography, I might say, that looks like that might work. It's got 10 questions. I want about 10, but you know what? I want to do a full period thing, so maybe this one with 50 questions. So let me take a look at it by clicking on it. I can now look down and see the questions themselves. If I want to see the answer, I can go like that and see the answer. And I can see how we manage to say, you know what, 5 and 10 seconds, that's not enough. I want to give my kids more time. So what I'm going to do is duplicate it. Let's see, I think I got to go back on the other screen though. And so states, I want to duplicate, there it is, duplicate it. Now I have my own copy of it that I can continue editing, and I can change it the way that I want. So I'm not starting from scratch, I'm going off of somebody else's to continue it. So this is probably a good way to get started with it if you already have a topic in mind. If you don't and you want to start from scratch, that's what I'm going to do right now, so that way you'll see the process. I know. I'm gonna start with the purple new Kahoot up top. I'll say yes, save and exit. And this is where I start. Now they give you 3 different branches to start. A discussion and survey are similar, but there are no right or wrong answers there. So that's more to start a discussion or survey your students without having right or wrong. Because I want it to be a quiz with right or wrong, I'll choose that. And I'll call it our Sunday afternoon. And I'll hit go. Question number 1 could be, we are at what conference? And, all right, options I have, image or video. If I want to have an image, in this case I would say probably the NYSCATE logo would be a good thing to have. I don't want that. I want NYSCATE just without that. All right, and that's the equivalent of doing a Google search. Jump over, bless you, jump over to images. And I look for an image. Let's go for the 50th year one. Always go to view image because that gives you an uncluttered look and it's the actual logo itself with nothing else on the page. Right click, save image as. Save it right to my desktop as that's fine. I can find it later. Now I go back in here and I go to choose file. Pick that file, hit open, and magically it processes it to be just the right size, and there it is. If I wanted to do a video, like I mentioned in the back earlier before, I would have to know what the link is for that video. And although it is, they say it's still experimental, because if you notice this little purple thing up there, beta, what does that mean? It means it's not fully baked yet. The engineers are still working on this product, and it's not fully finished yet. So they did say video is something that is experimental, and notice it's not shown up for me, so I guess it's either something they're working on. Yeah, because normally there'd be a spot here where I could plug in a YouTube link. So far, no to the videos, but it is something that they've talked about. Images have always worked, and if I didn't pick an image, it would put in a generic Kahoot logo there. If I want to make it points versus no points, I think it's more fun if you have points involved, but if that stresses the students out or stresses you out, you could say it's a no points question. And then the number of seconds they have to answer. There has to be a defined point in time so that it knows when to stop the intake of choices. So as little as 5 or as much as 2 minutes is your options there. You can set up your answers down here. You do have some options for subscript and superscript. The math teachers usually like that because sometimes they need to put exponents in. And if you only needed, let's say, 3 answers, you could take that away, or only 2 answers. You can have as little as 2 answers or as many as 4. So that's your limits there. When you're done filling it out, you go here to Add Question, and it'll move you on to the next question. If you hit the green button, that would just make it a one question quiz, and it would move on. So people's minds tend to think green means go next, but green in this case means end the editing process. So realize if you do need to add more, you have to hit Add Question, because if you hit Save and Continue, that finishes it off. So that's the process. I'm going to cancel it there. Imagine that we built it. Once we built it, it would be found under My Kahoots, and these are all the ones that I've worked on or I've copied from others, like that one we did a few minutes ago. Or if I needed to see what have other people created, I can jump over there to Public Kahoots. And I would say if you're intrigued, look under the Frequently Asked Questions area, because this is where I learned a lot about the capabilities of what Kahoot can do. So that would be your area to look for that. And we're just about out of time. All right, so let me make sure there's nothing else I'm missing here. We did the creation process. All right, so we are good now for our door prizes, if you want to tell us how we're going to do that.
So unfortunately, I've been emailing with Socrative people, not heard back. So his name was Robbie Brown. So if you run into him at the conference this week, feel free to say, hey, I was in that class.
Yeah, they might have a booth. The company is called Mastery Connect. So if you go to the exhibit hall, look for the booth that says Mastery Connect.